Dear policymakers, dear regulators, dear industry leaders, dear members of the Youth Parliament, good morning and welcome to our 15th annual conference, international conference. My first question to you is, since our last conference, what did happen? I would say quite a lot. And I will not make a long speech on this, but I would say that the world has become more uncertain, more volatile, and as Europeans, we know this. And we also know that Europe has a competitiveness issue. You could argue that all this is bad news. I also believe it can be good news. It can be good news because this is a trigger for change in Europe first. And this is good news for the insurance industry because our job is to manage risk and uncertainty. So it all depends on us. And in this context, I'm here to talk to you with a very positive and constructive mindset, which is that the insurance industry is keen to be part of the solution and to contribute to the European construction. Of course, keeping in mind the interest of our clients and companies. But again, we want to work with the various stakeholders, Commission, Parliament, regulators, civil society, to invent the solutions for tomorrow. This is our spirit as an insurance industry. Having said that, we had an offsite with all the federations of our various countries a few months ago, so all the insurance federations, and we've defined very clear priorities for us, and I would like to share now these priorities with you. The first one, I would say the priority 0, which may seem boring, is to manage all the regulatory backlog from the previous Commission. I will not make a long list, but this is about Solvency II, this is about FIDA, this is about the retail investment strategy, and so on and so on. On some of these matters, the direction is good. On some of them, the direction is unclear. It will be a lot of work, and we need to make sure that all these regulations land well, in a pragmatic way, and consistently with the overarching objective that the Commission has defined, which is to regain competitiveness in Europe. So this is the objective 0. The objective number 1, consistently with the objectives of the Commission, is the Savings and Investment Union. First, what is the ambition of the Savings and Investment Union? The ambition of the Savings and Investment Union is to promote investments in Europe. Promote investments in Europe where it matters. Meaning we need to convince our European citizens and companies to invest in Europe instead of investing elsewhere. So this is the ambition of the Savings and Investment Union. And by the way, there will be a first small step today in Paris with the signature of a memorandum of understanding on the labelization of savings products in Europe. This is a small step, but this is an important one from a communication and psychological point of view. Why is it important for us? It is important for us because as an industry managing 10 trillion euro assets, of course it impacts us, and of course we can contribute. And as I've said before, we are keen to contribute. We are keen to invest in line with the priorities in Europe. We are obviously pragmatic people, and we are keen to gather more savings from our European citizens and companies. So we are, of course, very important players on all of this. We believe we can bridge the gap between individual savers and productive investments. All of this to tell you that as an industry, we can only be in favor of this savings and investment union. We welcome more integration. We welcome more simplification. Of course, we will need to define what it exactly means. Of course, we will have to land on concrete and pragmatic initiatives, but count on the insurance industry to support the savings and investment union. This is our priority number one. Priority number two is about climate resilience. And I know that climate overall is a less fashionable subject those days. As an insurance industry, we believe in science. We look at facts, and it is clear that climate change is happening and has impacts on natural catastrophes in Europe, both on their severity and their frequency. We know that. And here again, we are keen to contribute. There was an excellent report, and I'm looking at Petra again, from EIOPA and ECB published in December on what could we do on this. On these natural catastrophe topics, we have to understand what the starting point is in Europe. First, the situation of the various countries is very different from one to the other because of the geographical location. But what we see is also that some European citizens and companies are well protected and some other not, which is an issue. We also see, reading the report from EIOPA and ECB, that every year the Commission is using part of its fund to finance urgency help in various countries because of natural catastrophes without a clear framework. So we have to do something. We have to do something on prevention. We have to do something on adaptation. We have to do something on protection, making sure that we can offer affordable protection to our citizens and companies everywhere. This is a huge task. As an industry, we believe that this is, first of all, a national state task. So this is a trigger for our various countries to build the adequate framework, which sometimes could rely on public-private partnerships. We also believe that in extreme cases, Europe could be useful if we are able altogether to build an adequate framework. This is where we are, and we, again, as an industry, we are supportive on this, and I very much hope that in the coming years, and I would say within the cycle of the current Commission, we would be able to come up with adequate solution with private players, national states, and the European Commission. Our priority number 3 is about innovation, and especially data and AI. Data is the fuel of the insurance industry, as we all know. AI will have a huge impact on the insurance industry. AI will have a huge impact on the insurance industry because our insurance is based on data, on text, on voice, on images. These are all the areas where AI is very good at managing and analyzing all of this. What we believe as an insurance industry is that we have wonderful regulations on all of this, on GDPR, on the new AI Act, and that maybe we need to think again and sometimes be more pragmatic. First, if we want to have a competitive insurance industry, we need to have access to data. Of course, we understand the privacy needs. Of course, we understand that in most cases, this will have to be anonymized data. But if we want to have a competitive insurance industry, we need to have access to data. On AI, and we have the new AI Act, we believe that we need to experiment before we regulate. I mean, I love all our regulators, but I have no clue of what AI will be in 2 years from now. We have no clue of how AI will impact our life. We have no clue of how AI will impact the insurance industry. If you look at all what happened over the past 2 years, exactly what happened. Had we discussed this 2 years ago, we could not have imagined what AI would be today. So, please, let's experiment before we regulate. I don't know what AI will be in 2 years from now. So I'm happy to have the most wonderful regulation in Europe on AI, but let's be a bit pragmatic, let's experiment, and let's make sure that we do not put too much barriers between the insurance industry and AI, and let's make sure that altogether we promote innovation. My fourth and last priority is to make sure that we promote in Europe competitiveness and simplification. Of course, this is not our job as the insurance industry to write the rules, but we can contribute through a better dialogue with the Commission, with the Parliament, with the regulators, and so on, and the civil society. So this is what we want to achieve, and we believe that we need to have a new spirit on all of this. So first, what do we mean by promoting competitiveness and better regulation? We mean that we need less regulation and smarter regulation. It doesn't mean that we don't have to be regulation. Of course, the insurance industry is a regulated industry and needs to be a regulated industry. But we need less regulation and we need smarter regulation. And all of this through a new spirit. I've mentioned the spirit of experimenting before we regulate. I could mention the spirit of having good use cases and impact analysis before we regulate. I could mention the spirit of principle-based regulation. So when I say that, they tell me this is not the European culture. This is more the American culture. Yes, but a regulation cannot plan for everything in each and every detail. So I think we really need a new spirit on this. And here again, we are extremely keen to contribute. Complexity is the enemy of competitiveness. Complexity is the enemy of all of us. So let's make sure that we have adequate regulation. Conclusion. Insurance matters. Insurance matters for several reasons. Insurance matters because we protect our citizens and companies against many risks, old risk, new risk, natural catastrophes, cyber, pension, which is probably the big topic of the next generation. So we protect against all these risks. We matter because we manage this 10 trillion balance sheet and we can direct investment where it matters. It matters because we employ 1 million people in Europe. Again, you have in front of you an industry which is keen to contribute more, which is keen to be part of the solution. Again, taking care of our clients, taking care of the good financial health of our companies. But we believe all of this is possible. All of this is possible if we have the adequate spirit. all of this is possible if we engage our young people in Europe, and we are keen to have this. We are very happy to have this cooperation with the European Youth Parliament. All of this depends on you, on us. Thank you very much.